So now that we're actually within Lumion, you get to see all the textures mapped onto things. Previously, we were just in Rhino. That was the software with a bunch of different colors that don't necessarily make sense, but as you're modeling it, they start to make a little bit more sense. All of those different things need to have different colors, different materials to help you, while you're in that software, match it over. And these things actually live sync together. I'll also show that. I won't show that on this video because it's a little hard to do on a single screen, but I can show you guys that on a different video, maybe that we'll do in the future. But essentially what live syncing means is while I'm in that 3D modeling Rhino software, is I can, when I move the camera in there, I move the camera on Lumion. When I build something in Rhino, it shows up on Lumion. So it's kind of one cohesive organism that's working together. So with that being said, now that we're within this space, we get to see the original tin ceiling, the wood plank floors, the brick walls, new windows that need to go in. We were trying to convince the client to do a Shushigiban style wood panel wall with a burnt style wall. They didn't end up wanting to go with that. We just do a painted black, but this is how we get some of those ideas across. So now that we can see the bar top here, we can see those lights off on the back, the light coming in from outside. These are those kegs that I was talking about here. We can see how all those colors kind of come in. They were supposed to be all those different breweries, but again, that would just take an insane amount of time to model all that for something that's going to be shown in a presentation. This is actually taking a look at seeing some people in there. Like I said, we don't typically show people, but in this instance, the client wanted to see how the space would fill out, how people utilize the space, and for presentation's sake, it makes sense to start showcasing what it would look like being operational. This is taking a look at the back wall there that I was showing with that brewery symbol. Now you can actually see the different countertop materials, you can see the backsplash, you can see those lights hanging down. Looking back now, we got the fireplace down in the corner. We get to see maybe a planted tree in there, the couch in the back. This was the very first time I started experimenting with putting photos within the model itself. But it was not that easy to do. We had to put in an actual physical thing into Lumion, and it was mapping the picture that I had taken. It was a panoramic photo, so it would be a little bit more angles. So when you're looking at these things, you get a better perspective. And it was pretty difficult to work with, and it ended up being pretty cool in the end, but was definitely quite the hassle. And I learned from that in one of our, probably the newest renders that I did, with a better technique on how to do that. And it turned out to be really, really awesome. So here we get to see the front. This is that entrance up into the space, walking on the inside there. I didn't take those photos into this. This view didn't end up getting used, but this is just something to show the client. All the other ones that are a little bit more curated are meant for the presentation. So sometimes we just do some of these views just to show a client what a space might look like with a couple different materials, but not every view has to be like a finalized view. So this is actually one of the coolest ones that I think we ended up coming out of the project with. This isn't the final version. This was what comes out of Lumion. All of these renders go from our Revit program, which is our original 2D drawing, which creates a 3D model. We take that 3D model, bring it into Rhino. That's our main 3D modeling software. Then from Rhino, we go into Lumion, and that's our rendering software. And from Lumion, we render all of those out, and we get a series of photos, so JPEGs, PNGs, whatever we end up choosing to export out of there. Once we have those, I bring them into Photoshop. So there's a series, all of these different programs we bring in to get one final image. So this is after 3 of those different applications. This is out of Lumion directly, allowing us to get basic snow texture put down on there. You get to see the lighting, which is really, really important and is hard to mimic in Photoshop. All of the lighting coming from inside specifically, and some of the stuff from outside. So this next image here is after taking it into Photoshop, doing a little bit of work onto it, adding in some different blurring effects, adding in some more snow effects, building up that snow on each of those roofs there. So what this allows us to do is we have all this different feel to it. We get to see the exterior, but in the snow. It's not just gonna be, a beautiful summer day, which is a lot of the time what you get with most of these basic renders. Green grass, blue skies, no clouds, very basic. This gives the client that feel, that Western New York feel, lets you see how it's gonna feel like in the snow, which is a lot of the time here. So mapping this in Photoshop was pretty difficult and was my first attempt at it. So we get to see above that first window there, the snow that kind of drapes down, and then we get to see the snow with the light reflecting off of it. And this is all done in Photoshop. Again, first try, but we were really excited with how this turned out. I thought it was really cool. We added in either side of the actual street. So on the right side, you can see the telephone poles. Sometimes these things aren't aesthetically pleasing, but definitely lends to the overall realism of the space. Like that telephone pole is there. Whether or not you like it, it's gonna be there when the building is done. So we can kind of show you what it looks like all together. And then on the left side, we get to see there's a fence back there with some buildings and then some trees off in the distance. This next photo is the exact same thing. This is what it comes out of Lumion. And then next, we get to see what it looks like when you go into Photoshop and start adding in some of these details. That mural that was also there on the wall, that was something that I took a photo of on site. I knew it was gonna be pretty important to the overall project, and I was able to map that texture onto that in Rhino. This is just another view. We can kind of rotate some of these different items. They don't have to be in landscape. We can also do portrait, which really helps for posting things on Instagram, doing some YouTube shorts, stuff like that. So it allows us to get a different perspective, almost like you're taking it with a phone. We also get to see that pint of Guinness there on the counter, which I was excited to put in there. This shot, very experimental, artsy shot. You can kind of see where I started to take a look at doing something just a little bit different. It's not just about the space. It's not just about each render that I'm taking. Some of those items in there, some blur effects and some different things. This one is definitely a little crazy on the blur, but starting to see that those things kind of come in together here. This definitely was a better rendition of that, taking a look at just that very specific lighting element and blurring out the rest of that there. So now we're going to take a look at one of the most recent projects that's actually being built right this second. This was a really exciting project to be a part of because we knew we were going to be the builder on it. We've started to do this a little bit more recently, is actually being able to see most of our renders come to life. A lot of these that I had done previously were for smaller projects or for commercial projects that were going up for grants, and you don't really get to see those pan out most of the time. Sometimes they get put up and they don't get funded or whatever the case may be. This one, the case is it's getting built and we're really excited to see it. And I'm also very excited to see these renders get kind of put next to photos there. So now we start to see a little bit more detail. The first model that we had seen, there's nothing on the walls. The roof is very basic. There's no modeling really to it. This here, we have a board and batten siding. We get to see some different texture on the terrain here, building up the top. And yes, it is the same color that I had used from that first model because it's almost the same terrain, just modeled it slightly different. It's kind of one of those tricks you get to use because everything, the ground looks similar everywhere, so we might as well use it. We actually get to see the board and batten that wraps around this whole thing, wrapping all the way around the back here, going through the garage. You get to see the rest of the house. And the garage itself is also fully modeled with metal siding. This isn't necessary and 100% could have been done with a texture, but going the extra miles to make it that much more realistic, to get the right shine off of the material, is something that we find really important and didn't take nearly as much time as doing the board and batten because I could just take these, extrude out a very simple 2D element and then copy that through the whole thing. Board and batten was a little bit more time consuming. So now that I can kind of show you that, we can actually go into Lumion here. I hadn't shown that previously, but now that we're within Lumion, you can fly around this very simple WASD, if you're familiar with video games, mechanic, and you can actually see all of these different elements that were placed in after the fact. We get all of our different rocks and different plantings. We get to see the materials, the white board and batten. We get to see the lights all turned on. We can go inside here. We get to see the nice dining room table. We get to see the kitchen off to the left with some bar top seatings. All of these things coming together, whether it's before or after coming into Lumion, really just lends itself to a final, wonderful, beautiful render. So now I'm gonna take you through just the last few shots here, and then we are gonna wrap this up and go into something else in the future, whether we look at this project a little bit more in depth or one of our other projects. We have a lot to show you and we're really excited to showcase all of these projects. So this here, we get to see a very similar shot to that one that I'd shown previously from the driveway looking down. We get to see the house, a little bit of fog coming up off the side here. This one's a little bit more basic, but we get a good look at that planting in the front. Now we get to see some of those lights coming through, and a nighttime render here. This is one of my favorite views of it with the nice sunset coming across the front, making it a little bit more warm. And then this final view here is just taking a look as close as we can get to that front door while also showcasing our front plantings and everything around that here. So I hope you enjoyed taking a look at one of our most exciting parts of this project for me specifically. Not everybody is as into rendering as I am, but this is definitely something that I have found my little niche to work with and spend most of my time doing when I have the opportunity to do it. Other times I'm taking phone calls, managing clients, managing our workers, and going on different spreadsheets and none of the fun stuff, calendars, all that stuff. So this is where I get to experience a lot of our creativity and getting to see these and work with clients and work with our coworkers here. It's a great experience overall. Like and subscribe. It's an awkward thing. Like. You can see here we have the bar top. There's actually a little Guinness bottle here. That sucks. I said bottle. We're starting that again.
I was just texting Nick to go tell Jason where we're shooting.
Hey. You hate to see it. You hate to see it. You bet.
We're shooting, so just try and keep it down. Thank you.
They're so loud. I'm such a quiet person.
Don't say anything, this is all on the record.
I'm not even that loud.